Everybody who went to Sunday school knows that the serpent asked Eve, "Did God really say?" Yeah, how many times have you heard that in church? A lot of times it's used to address common, um, you know, uh, justifications for evil or whatever, or, ways people try to twist scripture. Yeah, oftentimes it's used to address that. But other times it's used to shield themselves from critical thinking, because sometimes people's preconceived notions aren't even from God or the Bible in the first place. So if anyone shows any degree of skepticism or criticism about something, the higher-ups will point to a completely unrelated scripture and say it's related, and say, "Oh, look at this, you can't question this." And then they'll compare any amount of criticism or skepticism to what the serpent said. Oh no. You're asking questions. You know who else asks questions? Satan! So sometimes, that's actually a very legitimate question to ask, especially if it's completely unclear if he even said something in the first place, or if it was just popular opinion, or your pastor, or your youth pastor, or a board member, or church tradition. If you weren't allowed to ask this question, then the Reformation would never have happened in the first place. So, most of the time I would say, yeah, the answer to this question is yes. But sometimes the answer to the question is no. The second phrase is an even more controversial one. Sadly, a lot of times when most Christians hear this phrase, they run for the hills. I mean, yeah, it was coined by a guy who literally worshiped demons. But there's so much fear-mongering in the church about this phrase, so much so that they miss the point of the phrase entirely by only quoting the first half. The first half of the phrase is not satanic. The first and second half are. The first half is the only part anybody remembers. Do what thou wilt. But that's not satanic. What is satanic is do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Because if you think free will is satanic, you are wrong. What is satanic is making that the law. Making your will and your desires into the law is satanic. But having a will is not satanic. Your will is given by God, and you must do what you will. And if what you will is right, is to follow God, then that is good. But if you follow God and you don't will it, you're not really following God in the first place. And while God does want us to obey Him, He also wants us to be able to make correct judgments and to do things, to make choices. There's not just one path in front of us. There is a million. And we don't know which one is right. He knows, but we have to make the decision. And there's probably not just one right path. There are several. I'm not talking about religions. I'm talking about decisions in life. It's not simply a dichotomy of my way or God's way. I mean, it is, but sometimes God's way is multiple ways, and sometimes my way is multiple ways. But God leaves it up to us to take the initiative, to make a decision, to make righteous judgments, to use discernment. If we were just simply fully obedient, unfeeling robots, we wouldn't learn anything, and we would have no rights to be called God's image bearers. I see a lot of people abuse scripture, but I also see Christians abuse satanic phrases. They abuse the phrase, do what thou wilt, in order to claim that originality and uniqueness are satanic, or having any ideas or any creativity. Oh, you want to be an artist? Well, then I'm sorry. How's that going to help the kingdom? Yeah, modern evangelical Protestantism is very utilitarian. If they don't think it helps the kingdom, they don't think it's worth anything. Even if the thing could help the kingdom in the long term and they don't see it. But they have no appreciation for so-called frivolous things such as aesthetics. Though I mean, look at their church buildings. They're so plain. They think God doesn't care about art. But art is a very passionate and human thing, which in actuality, art is something you put your all in, and that's what worship should be. It shouldn't just be utilitarian, but passionate and genuine. Gone are the days of Michelangelo. Nowadays, the only thing Christians draw is vegetables. We don't know how to draw human beings anymore. Okay, that was a joke, but you get it. So yes, the first part of this phrase is not inherently satanic. What makes it satanic is the second part. There's the law and there's your will. Those are two separate things. You can have a will and you can do your will, but you must follow the law of God. No other law. You can't turn your will into law. Your will must be in accordance with the law. And then do it.